Tokugawa Ieyasu was born in 1543 in a small samurai family known as the Matsudaira clan in Mikawa province, a region in central Japan. This was during the chaotic Sengoku period, an era when Japan was divided into many warring states ruled by competing feudal lords. His early years were marked by constant danger, political intrigue, and shifting alliances. Despite his humble beginnings, young Ieyasu showed intelligence and a calm nature, qualities that would serve him well in the turbulent times ahead. At just 6 years old, Ieyasu, then known as Takechiyo, was sent as a political hostage to the powerful Imagawa clan to secure an alliance. However, on the way, he was taken captive by the rival Oda clan, led by Oda Nobuhide, father of the future warlord Oda Nobunaga. During the 2 years he spent under Oda custody in Owari, Takechiyo is believed to have had some contact with the young Oda Nobunaga, who was about 9 years his senior. Although they were both still children, this early exposure helped lay the groundwork for the trust and alliance that would later develop between their clans. In 1549, after a carefully arranged hostage exchange, Takechiyo was finally delivered to the Imagawa clan. There, under the watchful eye of Imagawa Yoshimoto, he began learning the arts of diplomacy, military strategy, and survival, skills that would prove essential for his rise to the top of Japan's fractured political world. In 1560, a major battle changed the course of history. The powerful Imagawa clan, to whom Ieyasu had been bound in a subordinate alliance since childhood, suffered a shocking defeat at the hands of Oda Nobunaga, an ambitious and brilliant warlord. With the death of Imagawa Yoshimoto, Ieyasu seized the opportunity to free himself from their control. This decisive move marked his transformation from a minor daimyo under domination to an independent leader, setting him on the path to becoming a key figure in the unification of Japan. After gaining independence, Ieyasu focused on restoring and strengthening the Matsudaira clan's control over Mikawa province. He rebuilt alliances and expanded his territories through careful diplomacy and military action. His leadership earned respect among his followers and laid the foundation for his future ambitions as a unifier of Japan. During this time, Ieyasu faced challenges not only from rival samurai, but also from militant Buddhist sects known as the Ikko-Ikki. These groups frequently rebelled against samurai rule, threatening regional stability. Ieyasu took decisive action to suppress these uprisings in Mikawa, demonstrating his strength and ability to maintain order. These ultimately helped solidify his reputation as a capable and firm leader.
Ieyasu's alliance with Oda Nobunaga became one of the most important partnerships of the Sengoku period. In 1567, recognizing Nobunaga's rising power, Ieyasu pledged loyalty to him, gaining both military support and political legitimacy. This alliance allowed Ieyasu to focus on expanding his own territories without fear of attack from Nobunaga. Together, they shared the vision of unifying Japan under a strong central authority. The Battle of Anagawa was a critical moment where Ieyasu and Nobunaga fought side by side against the combined forces of the Azai and Asakura clans. This fierce battle demonstrated Ieyasu's growing military prowess and his commitment to his alliance with Nobunaga. Victory at Anagawa further weakened their enemies and strengthened their hold over central Japan. In 1572, Takeda Shingen of Kai Province launched a campaign into Mikawa, aiming to challenge both the Tokugawa and Oda clans. With Nobunaga's reinforcements arriving too late, Ieyasu was left to face Shingen's superior forces alone. The result was a devastating defeat at the Battle of Sekigahara. Though humbled, Ieyasu narrowly escaped and took this loss as a lesson in humility and strategy. This turning point began to shape his more cautious and calculated style of leadership. 3 years later, in 1575, Takeda Shingen's son, Katsuyori, advanced toward Nagashino Castle. This time, Ieyasu secured the support of Nobunaga, forming a powerful Oda-Tokugawa alliance. At the Battle of Nagashino, the joint army famously used arquebuses or matchlock firearms to devastating effect. While the bulk of these weapons came from Nobunaga's forces, Ieyasu's troops also played a key supporting role. The innovative use of firearms shattered the once feared Takeda cavalry, marking a major shift in Japanese warfare and, further cementing Ieyasu's reputation as a forward-thinking warlord who embraced modern tactics.
In 1582, Japan was on the verge of unification under the leadership of Oda Nobunaga. Ieyasu, still a loyal ally of Nobunaga, was invited to the Azuchi Castle near Kyoto for a formal political visit. After completing his duties at Nobunaga's court, he decided to stop in the merchant city of Sakai on his way back to Mikawa. The visit was meant to be peaceful, a tour of one of Japan's most prosperous cities and a chance to observe its thriving economy and culture. However, while Ieyasu was still in Sakai with only a small escort, shocking news arrived. Oda Nobunaga had been assassinated in the incident known as the Honnoji incident. On the morning of June 2nd, 1582, Nobunaga was attacked by his trusted general Akechi Mitsuhide, and rather than be captured, he committed suicide by setting fire to the temple where he was staying. This was not a random event, it was a carefully plotted betrayal that sent shockwaves throughout the nation. The political landscape instantly turned unstable. As one of Nobunaga's prominent allies, Ieyasu found himself in grave danger. He was deep in territory that could now become hostile, and Mitsuhide's forces might soon try to eliminate Nobunaga's allies as well. With only a handful of retainers at his side, Ieyasu had to make a life-or-death decision, escape quickly, or risk being hunted down. To avoid major roads under hostile control, Ieyasu resorted to a desperate measure. Return to his hometown over the rugged mountains of Iganokuni, although recently pacified by Nobunaga in the Battle of Tensho-Iganoran. In 1581, Iganokuni remained a dangerous and unpredictable region. Iganokuni was once known as an independent clan of ninjas skilled in guerrilla tactics and survival in rugged terrain. Ieyasu and his party navigated narrow roads, dense forests, and mountain passes with the help of secret negotiations, bribery, and local allies, including former Iganokuni samurai, sympathetic to his cause. This dramatic journey became known as the legendary Igagoe. It was more than just a physical escape. It was a test of leadership, resilience, and calm under pressure. Meanwhile, Toyotomi Hideyoshi, who had been waging a campaign against the Mori clan in western Japan, received news of Nobunaga's death and quickly brokered a peace treaty to return east. In a lightning-fast maneuver now known as the Chugoku Ogeshi, Hideyoshi marched his army back and defeated Akechi Mitsuhide just 11 days after Nobunaga's death at the Battle of Yamazaki on June 13, 1582. Hideyoshi's swift action earned him the support of many of Nobunaga's former vassals and marked the beginning of his own ascent to national power. Though Ieyasu had returned to Mikawa safely, he now faced a delicate situation. The warlord he had long followed was gone, and a new contender had emerged. Rather than oppose Hideyoshi directly, Ieyasu chose a careful strategic path. He expressed formal condolences and support, but also began quietly building his own influence and preparing for the power struggles to come. The year 1582 marked a major turning point for Ieyasu, not just in terms of survival, but in how he would chart his own destiny moving forward. After the death of Oda Nobunaga, the struggle for control over Japan intensified. In 1582, the Kiyosu Conference was held to decide the fate of the Oda clan's territories and leadership. While Toyotomi Hideyoshi took the lead in this meeting, Tokugawa Ieyasu did not officially participate. Instead, Ieyasu focused on securing and strengthening his own domains. By 1584, tensions between Hideyoshi and Ieyasu escalated into open conflict. Hideyoshi had consolidated power over much of Japan after his decisive victory at the Battle of Shizugatake in 1583, where he defeated his greatest rival, Shibata Katsui. However, Ieyasu resisted submitting to Hideyoshi's authority, determined to maintain his independence and protect his territories. This struggle culminated in the Komaki Nagakute campaign. The conflict arose because Ieyasu viewed Hideyoshi's rapid expansion as a threat to his power. While Hideyoshi sought to unify the country under his rule, Ieyasu maneuvered strategically to preserve his influence. The campaign consisted of several battles and maneuvers. Notably, Ieyasu's forces engaged Hideyoshi's army near Komaki and Nagakute. Despite fierce fighting, neither side secured a decisive victory. The stalemate demonstrated Ieyasu's military strength and resolve. Ultimately, the Komaki-Nagakute campaign showcased the balance of power during this turbulent era. Though Hideyoshi remained the dominant figure, Ieyasu's ability to stand firm solidified his reputation as a formidable daimyo. The campaign set the stage for future negotiations and alliances, as both leaders recognized the limits of continued conflict. Rather than continuing their rivalry, Ieyasu and Hideyoshi reached a political settlement in 1586. Ieyasu accepted a subordinate position on the surface, but Hideyoshi treated him with great caution and respect. As part of the agreement, Ieyasu relocated his power base from Mikawa to the Kanto region, receiving the vast and strategically valuable lands of the former Hojo clan. This move would eventually prove vital to his rise. In 1590, following the siege of Odawara and the fall of the Hojo clan, Hideyoshi ordered Ieyasu to move to the Kanto region. Many considered it a demotion, but Ieyasu accepted it calmly. He established his headquarters in Edo, a sleepy fishing village that he would develop into a major political center. The relocation gave Ieyasu control of a vast and rich territory, laying the groundwork for future dominance. While Hideyoshi ruled as Kampaku, imperial regent, Ieyasu remained outwardly loyal and avoided open defiance. However, behind the scenes, he quietly strengthened his military base, developed the infrastructure of Edo into a future stronghold, and discreetly formed alliances with powerful daimyo across the country. In 1592, Hideyoshi launched the first of two military campaigns to invade the Korean peninsula, known as the Imjin War. While many daimyo were ordered to send troops overseas and suffered heavy losses, Ieyasu was notably excluded from active participation. Instead, he was entrusted with the role of overseeing domestic affairs and maintaining order in Japan. This allowed him to preserve his military strength and resources while observing the political landscape with a keen eye. Unlike Hideyoshi, who struggled to establish a stable succession due to the lack of a mature heir, Ieyasu carefully prepared for the future by raising capable sons and building trust among his closest retainers. With patience and foresight, he positioned himself to take advantage of the eventual power vacuum. As Hideyoshi's grip on the nation weakened under the weight of war and succession concerns, Ieyasu's quiet preparation began to bear fruit. Toyotomi Hideyoshi died in 1598, leaving his young son Hideyori as his heir. A council of 5 regents, including Ieyasu, was appointed to govern until Hideyori came of age. This arrangement was inherently unstable. Ieyasu, the most powerful among them, began positioning himself as the de facto ruler. The death of Hideyoshi marked the beginning of the final chapter in the long and bloody process of unifying Japan. After Hideyoshi's death, the Council of 5 Regents began to fracture. Ieyasu quickly established ties with key daimyo, including those who resented Toyotomi authority. Meanwhile, others like Ishida Mitsunari sought to preserve the Toyotomi legacy and limit Ieyasu's growing power. Suspicion and rivalry grew among the regents and their allies, setting the stage for inevitable conflict. In 1600, hostilities erupted between the pro-Toyotomi Western Army, led by Ishida Mitsunari, and the Eastern Army, led by Ieyasu. As daimyo across Japan chose sides, Ieyasu orchestrated a masterful campaign of diplomacy and strategic alliances. He secured the loyalty of powerful generals and sowed discord within enemy ranks. Many of his opponents would betray Ishida at critical moments, influenced by Ieyasu's promises or fear of his strength. On October 21, 1600, the decisive Battle of Sekigahara unfolded in a misty valley in central Japan. Tokugawa Ieyasu's Eastern Army, numbering around 75,000 troops, faced off against the Western Army, led by Ishida Mitsunari, which fielded approximately 80,000 soldiers. This was one of the largest and most consequential battles in Japanese history, with the fate of the nation hanging in the balance. As the two sides clashed, the battlefield was chaotic and tense. At a critical moment, Tokugawa Hideyoshi, who had been wavering in his allegiance, betrayed Mitsunari by leading his troops against the Western forces. His defection triggered further betrayals among other Western-aligned generals, tipping the balance irreversibly. By the end of the day, over 30,000 soldiers lay dead and the old Toyotomi order had crumbled in a single, brutal confrontation. Ieyasu emerged as the undisputed military leader of Japan, having unified the country not through birthright or inheritance, but through sheer strategic brilliance and political patience. In the wake of Sekigahara, Ieyasu acted swiftly. He executed or exiled those who had opposed him, confiscated lands, and redistributed them to loyal vassals. The Tokugawa clan emerged as the supreme power in Japan. Although he allowed Toyotomi Hideyori to remain in Osaka Castle, it was clear that Ieyasu held true authority. With his grip over the country secure, he turned his attention to legitimizing his rule. In 1603, Ieyasu was officially appointed Seitai Shogun, or Shogun, by the emperor. This title affirmed his military and political supremacy and marked the beginning of the Tokugawa Shogunate, a regime that would govern Japan for over 260 years. At the age of 60, Ieyasu had outlived Nobunaga and Hideyoshi and completed their work. Yet he understood that true stability required more than a title. It required a carefully constructed system to preserve order.
Ieyasu knew that his rule must outlast him. In just 2 years as shogun, he laid the foundation for a political structure that would endure. He implemented a strict class hierarchy, formalized the role of daimyo through the bakuhan system, and enforced alternate attendance, sankenkotai, compelling daimyo to spend alternating years in Edo. This weakened their local power and tied them financially and emotionally to the Tokugawa regime. In 1605, Ieyasu made a calculated decision. He abdicated as shogun in favor of his son Tokugawa Hideyoshi. This move was symbolic. It ensured a smooth succession while Ieyasu continued to wield real power as ogosho, or retired shogun. He moved to Sunpu, modern-day Shizuoka, where he operated as a political puppeteer, quietly controlling court affairs and setting the tone for future Tokugawa governance. In 1614, Toyotomi Hideyoshi, the son of the late Hideyoshi, commissioned the casting of a massive bronze bell at Hokoji Temple in Kyoto. This was part of his efforts to restore the Great Buddha Hall, originally built by his father but destroyed by fire years earlier. However, the inscription on the bell became the subject of grave political controversy. The characters engraved on the bell included a phrase interpreted as a prayer for the peaceful reign of the nation under the Toyotomi. Ieyasu, now the retired shogun but still the most powerful figure in Japan, claimed that the inscription contained hidden meanings intended to curse the Tokugawa regime. He accused Hideyoshi of sedition. Though many historians believe the charges were politically motivated, the incident provided Ieyasu with a justification to act against the Toyotomi. It marked the final breakdown in relations between the two great houses and set the stage for a climactic confrontation. Later that same year, Ieyasu launched a military campaign against Osaka Castle, initiating what would come to be known as the Winter Siege of Osaka. In the winter of 1614, Tokugawa Ieyasu mobilized over 200,000 troops and surrounded Osaka Castle, the final stronghold of the Toyotomi clan. Inside the castle, Hideyoshi and his mother, Yodogimi, gathered approximately 100,000 defenders, including loyal retainers Ronin and samurai, who viewed the Toyotomi cause as their last hope against Tokugawa domination. Despite the overwhelming size of the Tokugawa army, the defenders utilized the castle's formidable moats, stone walls and elevated position to repel multiple assaults. The fighting was intense but indecisive, and both sides began to seek a diplomatic resolution to avoid further bloodshed. In early 1615, a truce was brokered. As part of the peace terms, Osaka Castle's outer moats were filled in and defensive structures dismantled, severely weakening its ability to resist future attacks. Although Hideyoshi retained his position and life, the Tokugawa had won a major strategic victory without a total conquest. However, the peace proved fragile. Rumors began to circulate that the Toyotomi were secretly rebuilding fortifications and stockpiling weapons inside the castle, violating the terms of the agreement. These reports reignited hostilities and gave Ieyasu the pretext he needed for a final confrontation. In the spring of 1615, tensions once again flared between the Tokugawa and Toyotomi factions. Despite the truce that followed the winter siege, suspicions deepened when intelligence suggested that Hideyoshi was rearming and rebuilding Osaka Castle's defenses. Ieyasu, still wielding ultimate power behind the scenes, deemed this a direct threat to the Tokugawa shogunate. The Tokugawa authorities began amassing troops once more, and this time they sought total annihilation of the Toyotomi line. While Shogun Hideyoshi officially led the campaign, Ieyasu directed strategy and logistics. The Toyotomi side called upon every possible ally and once again fortified Osaka Castle. Many Ronin and samurai from across Japan rallied to the cause, viewing this as their final stand. In early summer, the Tokugawa army launched what would later be known as the Summer Siege of Osaka. The fighting was brutal and unrelenting. Unlike the previous siege, there were no negotiations, only a steady march toward destruction. Ultimately, Tokugawa forces breached the weakened castle defenses. Fires consumed much of the fortress as the defenders fell. Facing inevitable defeat, Hideyoshi and his mother Yodogimi committed suicide within the castle walls, bringing an end to the Toyotomi lineage. With the fall of Osaka Castle, Ieyasu had finally secured the complete unification of Japan under Tokugawa rule. The victory erased the last viable opposition to the shogunate and ushered in an era of relative peace and stability that would last more than 2 centuries. Following the fall of Osaka Castle in the summer of 1615, Tokugawa Ieyasu had achieved the goal he had long pursued, the unchallenged unification of Japan. Though officially retired from the position of shogun since 1605, Ieyasu remained the ultimate authority in the land, guiding policy and mentoring his successor, Hidetada. In his final years, Ieyasu focused on consolidating Tokugawa power. He issued directives to pacify former Toyotomi supporters, redistributed lands to loyal vassals, and strengthened the administrative structure of the shogunate. Edo Castle continued to develop as the political and military center of Japan, symbolizing the stability of the Tokugawa regime. Ieyasu also worked closely with the imperial court in Kyoto, ensuring that relations between the shogunate and the emperor remained harmonious. His policy of balancing military power with traditional authority helped legitimize the new political order. Despite his age, Ieyasu remained active and strategic to the very end, but his health gradually declined, and in early 1616 signs of serious illness began to appear. On June 1st, 1616, Tokugawa Ieyasu passed away at the age of 73 at Sunpu Castle. He had lived through decades of chaos, warfare, and shifting allegiances, emerging as the ultimate victor in a century of civil strife. His death marked the end of an era, but not the end of his influence. Ieyasu's legacy had been carefully secured. His son, Tokugawa Hidetada, already shogun for over a decade, continued to govern with the same principles of centralization, control, and peace. The succession was smooth thanks to Ieyasu's meticulous planning and foresight. Shortly after his death, Ieyasu was deified as Tosho Daigongen, a protective spirit and national guardian. His mausoleum at Nikko Toshogu became a place of pilgrimage, reflecting the deep respect he commanded even after death. His greatest achievement was not just military conquest, it was the creation of a sustainable political system. The Tokugawa Shogunate he built would endure for more than 250 years, shaping the course of Japanese history well into the 19th century. After Ieyasu's death, his son, Tokugawa Hidetada, solidified the foundations laid by his father. He continued policies to maintain peace and stability across Japan, reinforcing the central authority of the shogunate. Hidetada also faced challenges, including managing relations with the imperial court and controlling powerful daimyo. But his rule ensured the smooth continuation of Tokugawa governance. Ieyasu's strategic vision created a balance between military strength and political diplomacy. His emphasis on strict social order, control of the daimyo through the Sankin Kotai system, and fostering economic growth in Edo helped establish a peaceful and prosperous era. His legacy became the blueprint for Tokugawa Japan. The period following Ieyasu's death is known as the Edo period, named after the Tokugawa seat in Edo, modern-day Tokyo. It was characterized by over 2 centuries of peace, isolationist policies, and cultural development. The structures and policies implemented by Ieyasu were crucial in shaping this era. With peace secured, Japanese arts, culture, and education flourished. The stability brought by the Tokugawa shogunate allowed the growth of literature, theater like kabuki, and traditional crafts. This cultural blossoming reflected the deep influence of the political order that Ieyasu established. Tokugawa Ieyasu's rise from a regional daimyo to the unifier of Japan was marked by patience, strategic brilliance, and resilience. His life bridged the chaotic Sengoku era and the stable Edo period, leaving a lasting imprint on Japanese history. As a military leader and political architect, Ieyasu's legacy continues to be studied and admired for its profound impact.